Hello, Star Wars CCG players, fans, and folks who just want to hang out with me on a Thursday afternoon, or Thursday afternoon in the US. It might be Tuesday in Europe. I don't know. I'm bad at this thing. Garrett Larson here, Dead Body on Slack, forums, and everywhere else of note in the Star Wars world, bringing you some more Outrider Cup action. We have Patrick Csapi. I probably butchered the heck out of that, so from now on, he's just going to be Patrick. Patrick C. from the European or non-US group of the Outrider Cup, that is effectively the Europeans, versus Chris Gogolen on light side. Um, the Outrider Cup, if you're just picking this up or coming into it, is similar to the Ryder Cup in golf. It is the best of the Americans versus the best of the rest of the world in a match play format where no player or nobody on the team can play the same deck. So all of the light sides for the US are different. All of the dark sides for the US are different, etc. So what we have here is we're going to have Chris Gogolen on, I believe, Luke Saga, playing against Patrick, who's playing Walkers. And we did just see earlier this week, Chris Chris put a beating on Timo Dussel, one of the Euro, in his other game in the Outrider Cup with Walkers. So this should be a very interesting match to watch. I mean, Chris is an outstanding player. Patrick is an outstanding player. He used this Walker's deck to qualify for the OCS top 16. And this is going to be a heck of a match. So, again, Blackfire is Patrick. He is starting with Darkside, the Walker's objective, and Chris is Skywalker Saga, Luke Saga. So, Patrick starting pretty standard so far. I mean, it's prepare for surface attack. Echo base destroyed. You may start your landing. And I bet an arrest order. Yep, and there's the arrest order. Chris with Rise of Skywalker for the Force is strong in my family, which is he'll choose Luke. Yep, which means he gets to play my father before me from the Funeral Pyre, along with Walkling and a Cunning Warrior. This is going to be an interesting game. If Patrick has some tricks to handle my sister has it, getting through the Destiny bonuses, this could get interesting real quick. I'm just not sure if he does. The one thing you see, Chris giving up no icons, which means Patrick is not going to be able to. Well, I guess he can Echo Base Destroy, but it'll take basically everything he's got to get Veers on a Walker going round one, and Chris activates enough force, he could theoretically just go right at him. I don't necessarily think that's the right play. I've said this before in a lot of matches. You do not win a game on turn one, but you can and will lose a game on turn one. That's a lose a game sort of play. And Chris is not a lose a game sort of player. So we saw Patrick use Echo Base Destroyed right away to put a card down. That makes me think he might have had Walker Garrison and or the third marker in hand, and that's an easy way to get through him. Chris going with Rebel Leadership, getting Han Solo, Optimistic General, aka Tidarium Han, into hand. Patrick uses Imperial Command to get General Navarre. Now, the other thing that Imperial Command does, playing that on turn one like that, means after Recirculate, he's going to be able to drop an interrupt to the bottom of his hand, or from the bottom of his reserve deck with the Ice Planes, to get that command right back. That is real strong. Now I see him playing Walker Garrison to take Veers or an AT-AT. I'm assuming this is going to be to take Veers. And it is, as he grabs Veers Virtual. Walker's has a lot of setup. There's a lot of things he's going to do that are exactly what we think he's going to do right from the get-go. I mean, these guys are still in activate phase, and they've all done like 3 things each. As we see the grabber shields come out as well. But Patrick knows how to play walkers, and walkers can give mains trouble. Like if he can get enough damage going and just stack that site and stop Chris from clearing it and clearing through it, he can eventually just grind him out. The change where you no longer can use code clearance is shielded, so you don't have forfeit 8, 9, 10 kind of ability 3 guys, definitely changes the deck a little bit. He's running weenies a little bit more with the 2/2s. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, Logan, the sister interrupt I already said is Patrick's got to have an answer for that somehow, because command won't do it. So then it becomes can you eat through it? Can you hold your tramples for things like, track a 6 so you can trample Leia so the sister interrupt just doesn't get played? There's a lot of things that can go on here, but yeah, I think Chris is slightly favored here. That being said, Patrick is a very, very good walkers player, but so is Chris. And that's part of why I'm willing to say Chris is slightly favored, but it's real close. And Patrick's got to use his force push right away, which means he activated something he didn't want to, or he really wants that 1 extra force. It's never a good feeling when you've got a setup deck and you activate one of those key pieces you need, which might have been he activated like the target the main generators, which he could pull if he had grabbed the Electro rangefinder, but he didn't grab the rangefinder. So we see he flashes Veers to get the 6th marker or Blizzard 1, which means he didn't activate Blizzard 1. That's a plus. There's Blizzard 1 coming down for 6. Veers will go on as a pilot for free. Guns will go on for free. And we see the Yevon Sentry to add to. Okay, so there is the rangefinder. So I wonder if both the rangefinder and the target were in there, and that was just at that point you might as well get the rangefinder, because you do want that extra plus, because you can't spread as much as you'd like to, because mains can definitely bring pain. Yeah, good point. The rangefinder does mean the command is no longer the bottom card. That's a little unfortunate. I think Patrick would have liked that bottom card to be the command. That's sometimes when you activate what you activate, that stuff happens. There's not a real solution there. You still have to make that play. And Patrick dumps basically his entire hand. I mean, Patrick's down to 3 cards in hand. This turn, next turn he's probably not playing a ton, and he even draws that 1 because he can Echo Base Destroyed to shuffle and move stuff. And there he grabs Secret Plans right away. Pretty straightforward. And, honestly, Patrick may not have an interrupt to drop with the 5th marker, because it is a exchange an interrupt from hand with the bottom card of your reserve deck. Based on what, having to spend all of it, not getting anything, he might just not have an interrupt to spend. Don't love that he didn't activate a force right away with Echo Base Destroyed. I would like to have a force active, because without that, he does give Chris the opportunity to play my sister to go get Chirpa's Hut without it being grabbed, where Chris otherwise would not want to do that. You don't want to get that card grabbed, because it is definitely you're gonna need it here. So you want the copies of it, as many as you can. So not getting it grabbed to use as a puller is a good idea. So let's see where Chris goes here. He's activated 8 total. There's the 2/2 right away. Now, I do not hate dumping Rey or Luke there early. Like, walkers, especially this version of walkers, doesn't necessarily have a ton of ability to come at you on the ground. at an interior site. Like he's probably got a Choke Vader and Tarkin, but that's about it. And that -1 to the destiny of all the interrupts is really, really nasty. Like that gets real obnoxious real quickly. So I know no one else got to hear the little fancy ding that I always do when someone subscribes with Prime. Tashi Station, Sam, subscribing with Prime up to 80 months right now on a 41-month streak. 41-month streak. That is insane. I've been married 27 years and I haven't done something 41 months in a row. Good Lord. That is awesome. And thank you very much. As I've said many, many times, Prime Twitch subscription, the easiest way to support the Players Committee. It costs you nothing if you already have Prime, and it does help pay for things like GEMP and the awesome foils and the awesome stuff that goes on everywhere. So Chris draws some, goes, were you looking for me to grab 3PO? And gets 3PO with his parts showing. Neither player pops battle order, so Patrick gets a free drain in of 1, and we'll get a ping of 1 as well. I mean, I don't know what's in those 4 cards in Patrick's hand. I expect he's mostly going to be drawing here. Like, he got all his setup up. The only thing he might be pitching, see the Endor Celebration go from hand. Like, he might grab the Hoth system. I'm not sure. You know, like you saw Chris already went and got Optimistic Han. You don't necessarily want to grab the Hoth system right now. So we see Patrick gets the AT-AT Cannon V and then uses Echo Base Destroyed to put a card down. We don't know what he put down, but it could very well have been that AT-AT Cannon. Drops Blizzard 2 at the 5th marker. Trying to keep the spread because he wants that +2 to the Epic Eventron. Trying to blow up the generators. You get +2 for each marker site you control with a walker, with an AT-AT. And there's General Navarre on Blizzard 2, so that's going to be a... He doesn't have the command anymore. He doesn't have the guaranteed command, but that's still not a great spot to be in. And we see the Navarre peak. As General Navarre being ability 2 does forfeit for like 6 as well, and that's a pile of power, and you have to worry about tramples, and there's a lot there, and I like Patrick is just going hard for the, all right, I'm going to try and blow the bunkers here. That's what he needs, and he's got a decent draw at it, so if he moves to third, so he moves to third marker. If Chris doesn't go there, it's +2, +4, +5, +6, +7, I think, and he needs a total of 8, or a total greater than 8, so it's basically pretty much a done deal. If Chris comes in and starts attacking him, obviously that lowers it. It's, you know, +2 if you control with the walker, +1 if you occupy, but it's still a solid, solid shot, and it... Coming at him is a little scary. That AT-AT cannon puts in work. 50-50 shot that Chris comes at him right now, or 50-50 shot that he blows the bunker? Because I'd say if Chris doesn't come at him, the bunker's about an 80-20. There's just not that many things in the deck that are lower than 2. Chris coming at him is probably about a 50-50. If Chris has the cards, I think you come at him. But you got to have the cards. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Sam, that it's either he draws, one of the blue cards that he misses, although there's probably only 1 or 2 of those left because Blizzard Scout 1 and Blizzard 4 will both hit it because they're both 4s. Or he draws, a black card, a character, but I think he's got more red than he does black. And the fact that some of that blue and even potentially some of that black still hits means I think he's better than 50-50. I mean, technically, yeah, it's a 50-50. Either he will or he won't, but I think the odds are better that he gets there. I'd say he's, 70-30, 80-20, somewhere in that range. So, because, yeah, if Chris doesn't go at him, he's +2, +4, plus adds 1. to this, so it's +5, +6, +7. I think he's actually +8 without a touch. So he's 4 from the, and Chris throws down the Jedi Council Chamber. Chris did not, oh, Chris did drain, yeah. Lost Grand Admiral Thrawn and Command off the top. Used Jedi's Focus to grab a card from Force Pile. Patrick did not grab that, which is a little interesting. But yeah, with the rangefinders, he's at an 8 right now between it's +2 for each site with the objective. No, Carl, this is just about the total and what Patrick needs to hit it and if Chris goes after him or doesn't go after him. And I think if Chris doesn't go after him, it's basically a guarantee. Yeah, if he draws red, he hits no matter what. But I think if he draws anything other than a 0, he hits. So he's +4 from the epic event, +1 from the sight, +1 from the gun, +2 from the rangefinders. So that puts him at a total of +8. And he just needs to get above 8. So anything hits if Chris doesn't go after him. Now, if Chris goes after him and takes him off a site or takes him, like takes out Navarre and leaves Blizzard 2 sitting there, then he loses 1. But yeah, I think with that rangefinder, it's going to be rough. I think it's going to be hard for him to miss. And I think that might be what Chris is still trying to figure out in his head is he only has 10 force. I don't love the idea of going after with 10. Like that feels a little concerning, but we are going to see it. Here's Princess Leia and Padme. So he's going to try and go for the look. I want to get over 6 and I want to clear him because then it's a much harder shot. Yeah, I think the Hoth system is probably in the deck, but it's not a guaranteed to hit. And there we see the trample on Leia and Gogolen grabs it. And he misses. There's one of the things that would fit. Oh, we're calling Gogolen Chucky. That seems a little off, but all right, we're going to stick with Gogolen here. So the trample missing, I mean, that was just this is what happens. But now Patrick could be in a little bit of a rough spot. So, I mean, maybe he thought you were Kendrick Lamar. So you're not like us. I think that's a Kendrick Lamar song. If it's not, I'm going to sound really stupid and I'm going to get trolled by all the kids who follow our YouTube. Like, he doesn't know who Kendrick Lamar is, and that's fine. I'll accept that. So we do see the Walker hit. Sorry, just gotta look at something here real quick. So we saw the saw the shot on Leia. We see the Chirpa's hut and the Yoda drawn for Battle Destiny and attrition. So he is going to lose General Navarre, but that's it. And that's a great, great thing for Patrick. That went about as good as it could have. All right. Yeah, I see Ryan managed to get white border again. I don't know how he's managing that. I'm still not super enthused that that's not him or not me. Patrick, Chris is in kind of a weird spot right now. I almost think you got to move Padme to the 5th marker. Like, leaving her sitting there is asking for a, here's a pilot on Blizzard 2, let's go. And just a massive outpower and see what happens. So I'm also impressed that I made Ryan and Logan proud that I knew who Kendrick Lamar was and could appropriately pull a song out of there. So in general, I am not a white border fan. I've said that many times and have in fact questioned the judgment of the people who are putting white border cards. But Walker's decks, I do as much white border as I can because there's just something about all the cards on Hoth should be white border. Like you got that snowy outline. I'm a fan of that, and I think it should be honored. So Chris is still sitting in his move phase, just deciding what he wants to do with Padme. And he does move her to the 5th marker. I think that's the right play. I think you're just too. Patrick could still come after her, and it could be bad, especially if he's got something like if he can go get that Marquand in Blizzard 1 that's in his reserve right now. And, that plus a gun could put in a whole lot of work real quick. But it's, leaving her sitting in front of Blizzard 2 is just asking for trouble. Like, at least doing it this way, there's a chance you don't get run out. So, and we see Patrick uses Prepare for Surface Attack to go grab should be a cannon. Oh, he missed on the cannon. So Chris gets a Verify. And Patrick shuffles. I'm assuming we'll see an Echo Base destroyed. Okay. He went and got a Trample. I don't know. Unless you're going to use that Trample, I'd rather had it in there to be a good destiny for the shot, because now you're drawing at 7, I think. So you need a 2, which means basically any red card hits it. Half of the blue and black cards hit it. You've got a pretty good chance. And we see Gogolen loses Anakin's lightsaber from hand to the You May Start Your Landing damage. If Patrick's going to drain here, I think it'll just be at the 3rd marker. I could see him draining for 2. I don't think he's going to pay to drain for 1. Should be down 1. Oh, yeah, it is back to 8. Never mind. That's... All right, so yeah, he hits with anything but the Hoth system. We do see he does pay 3 to drain for 2, and we see Speak with the Jedi Council and I Don't Like Sand peeled off the top. Those are destinies Chris would have liked to draw instead of that 0. Gick will hit it. Oh yeah, you're right. Gick would, if he has regular Gick, he will miss. Oh, he did not miss. And we see Leadership, Unita, Luke Jedi Knight, Speak, and Anakin peeling off the top. So, and now we see the flip. We see Echo Base destroyed as a top level action to take a Hoth card into hand from his force pile. All right, he takes the AT-AT cannon, so that's where if he'd had a walker, it would have been, he might have gotten it. And Chris plays aim high just to make sure you can't go. He's not giving up free retrieval, and that makes sense. And we do see Blizzard 8. Blizzard 8 draws a Battle Destiny if unable to otherwise. There's the No Escape to get back General Navarre. That is less than ideal for Chris right now, because General Navarre comes down for 2 on Hoth. I'd imagine you're just going to see the cannons right away. Up first, we're going to use General Navarre to peek at the top card of Gogolen's reserve deck. It'll tell him if it's a 7, which would be his real big concern. I mean, 4 or 5 are okay. 4, 5, 6, you're losing Navarre and go, okay. It's not ideal, but I think you still make the play, like you're up a bunch in power. There we see the Blizzard Cannon, AT-AT Cannons going on Blizzard 2. That's fine. It gives him another spot to shoot into the third marker, which is where I think you're going to see more damage happening. I might have put the cannon on Blizzard 8 because they moved for free between the 5th and 4th marker. You could have done that and then moved Blizzard 2 to the 5th marker, so it avoided you have to have a spy to come in for the beatdown. But it's not, he's fine either way. I mean, you're still staring at Blizzard 2 with a gun, and whatever happens, you're getting guns. You're getting multiple shots in at the 3rd or 4th marker. And for Battle Destiny, Patrick draws Captain Kurgi and Sith Furies him right into hand. Chris draws Luke Rebel Scout, and he's going to take him right back into hand. And then a 5, so General Navarre will die. So Luke Rebel Scout's actually potentially real interesting there, because he will stop the shot going through from the same site. So whatever site he's at, Patrick won't be able to shoot, but he will be able to shoot from the neighboring site because of Luke Rebel Scout's text. All right, so Patrick ends up moving the walkers, which is fine. I don't love that he's got the cannon on the wrong side of the 4th marker now. I would have rather had the cannon at the 4th marker. I apologize, my wife's dealing with some things at work right now at her school and getting some text updates. So when I'm quiet, I got to read something real quick. So now Chris is activating, like, this is a spot where he could get aggressive. You know, he's got 13 force. He's got 7 cards in hand. We know one of them is Luke Rebel Scout, who's going to put in work. And there's the Corrin Horn. So he's got the spy to come in and punish Blizzard 2. And with Luke Rebel Scout, he can't fire, which is where, again, if he'd kept the cannon at the 4th marker, he could have still fired into a battle at the 5th marker. If he'd put the cannon on Blizzard 8 to begin with, you could still fire from you do all this shuffling, you still get the fire with Blizzard 8, and if they instead come at Blizzard 8, you still get to fire from the 3rd marker. Like, leaving the 4th marker without a gun feels like the wrong play, and Chris has the cards here to make that a little difficult. He doesn't have enough for Leia. Like, he's still a force or 2 short of what he wants to do. He will get the retrieval here, though. And as I said, Patrick's not going to be able to fire. Patrick won't take overflow. Yeah, he probably should have pulled Coward, Carl. I don't, ooh. That's not the destiny Chris wanted to draw. Chris's destiny have not gone the way he's wanted to. And yep, he's going to lose a couple force here to keep Blizzard 2 and that cannon alive. I don't think you have to move Corrin and Luke away. I think you're fine with them sitting there, but that is still a less than ideal position there. That could have gone much, much worse for Patrick. He's actually gotten away with a couple here where Chris has made the right play, and it's just he's getting TRM'd a little bit on his destiny, where it's just not he's drawing those occasional bad destiny, and those are real bad. Yeah, I will, I don't know if Chris knows that you're supposed to draw just 6s and 7s. Like, that does seem like a thing that, someone should teach him. So, and here we see Patrick retrieving one right away, getting his prepared defenses. I don't. Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, I would have Echo Base destroyed before I retrieve, simply because again, you get that one more card to choose from. We watched Joe Olson play Watch Your Step yesterday, and there was a whole discussion in Slack about how he missed the Kessel run and why he missed the Kessel run, because he's trying to maximize his cards in used pile to get the most profitable grab from deploying Mirax, and like this is the opposite of that. Like you used a force before you went and searched your force pile. Like any QMC player will tell you, you search your force pile before you use force because you want the most amount of cards. So now we're going to see Patrick, though. He went and got Lieutenant Cabell from force pile. Lieutenant Cabell subtracts 1 from total battle destiny when he's with a leader, and otherwise forfeits for 6, which just is pretty good. We see Force Master Yoda and Rise of the Skywalker, or the Rise of Skywalker, excuse me, go off the top. There's Lieutenant Cabell on Blizzard 2. Are we going to see a leader with him? And there's Captain Kirgy, who is a leader. Captain Kirgy also, oh, he's not at a battlegrounds. He's not going to be able to use his text. But now it means that Blizzard 2 is effectively immune to less than 5 instead of 4. And that's a good thing. So we see the battle. I'm assuming, yep, we'll see a pay 1 to shoot at Corrin. And got him. That's look at that. It's a great card that would have blown up the generators. Nice shot. So Corrin's dead, but he does get his full forfeit, so you're not really, not a huge loss. This is not a, you're kind of in the okay. And Chris says, well, I'm going to activate 1 off Cunning Warrior, and I'm going to draw 1 with Ray, and just get cards in hand because he needs to be able to come in for a beat somewhere. And draws a 3 for Battle Destiny, so Luke's going to be immune to that, and frankly, he's going to, and he plays Prepared Defenses to add 1, which is fine. It's doesn't matter. Luke is still immune. You're not actually going to overflow him because Corrin's got his full forfeit. That's whatever. And we do see the 5. I do think what you're going to see here is Lieutenant Cabell go away. I think Captain Kirgy can put in way too much work with peeling cards that I would much rather see Kirgy stay alive. And that is exactly what we see. Lieutenant Cabell does his job and goes waltzing off to the lost pile. You got to move Kirgy to the pilot slot during move phase. And then, honestly, I wouldn't hate just Blizzard 2 moving there. Kirgy moves to the pilot slot. Patrick is on top of that, which is awesome. I wouldn't hate Blizzard 2 walks to the 4th marker and you throw down Coward and say, okay. Like, you don't have cards in hand. You don't want to try and grind out Luke because you're not really outpowering him. Like, that's, you're not. So move him over, throw out Coward and say, I don't care. Luke can't drain there. Make him come to you where you have multiple walkers and you have a turn where you can, draw a bunch of cards and put in work. And so far, that's what Patrick did. Let's make sure he doesn't decide to move. Oh, look at that. Look. It's like I know what I'm doing, you guys. Suggesting these things. Like, I don't, and we can all agree to that, but, like, I can sometimes make it look like I do. So, and with Kirgy being at a battleground, Patrick now does get the chance. He can peek at the top card of reserve deck. It was not a character or rebel, so he just says, all right, fine. Lets him recirculate and say go. But that is, Captain Kirgy can absolutely put in work in this deck, and now Chris has got to consider, like, he can't Nabrin, so he's not moving over during before battle, he's not bringing Luke over, so Patrick will know and be able to save force to cover Luke's, having to pay to shoot. And that's going to be a problem. Like that is going to put in a lot of work real quickly. So we already saw the no escape get played. Honestly, if Patrick got back his Sith Fury, I would not hate at all to see Sith Fury to grab Cabal and throw him back down. Like, it feels sort of wasteful to be like, I'm going to Sith Fury for Lieutenant Cabal, but why not? So we see Han, Optimistic General, going to the North Ridge, and he grabs Luke's lightsaber, which leaves the Jedi's focus sitting on top. That's seems like a good choice. And Han shuffles then, doesn't he? Oh, nope, he doesn't. So we know it'll be a 4 on top. The Luke's lightsaber, I'm not even sure you put it on Luke. Like, maybe because he doesn't have Decree in play yet, but, like, you're possibly just going to be losing Luke, so I don't know that it's worth putting it in, because I think what Chris is doing here, unless he's got something like here's a Leia and I know, I think it's going to be put another guy there, move Luke over. Yep, that's exactly what it is. There's Captain Hera. I mean, you're drawing 2 Battle Destiny. Like, yeah, you're probably losing both guys, but if your draws are at all decent, you're burning Patrick out of things. Like, Patrick doesn't have enough nouns there, really, to handle too much. So, Run, Luke, Run would be a possibility as well. There we get the Chief Chirpa's Hut out, so Chris says, I'm not drawing that for Destiny again. I mean, yeah, Ryan, a Run, Luke, Run would be great, but I'm not positive he's running it in the deck. It's one of those, there's probably, if he is, it's a one-off, and there we see Luke get his lightsaber. That might be a sign that he's not planning to run away with Luke. I don't love just leaving Han and Hera sitting there. Like, I think Patrick is out of tramples. One is stacked, and we saw one go lost, but, like, okay. Yeah, I like starting that battle. And the Run, Luke, Run, there we go. So he did have some of the things we were talking about. So that'll also stop the shot from the 4th marker. It will still allow the shot from the 3rd, though. But it won't make them forfeit 0, because Blizzard 1 says cards Blizzard 1 hits here are forfeit 0. So Patrick will still get the shot. I assume you shoot Han or Hera. Like, I think you just shoot Hera just to make sure you only have to fight with her once. And that's exactly what we see is the shot at Hera, and there's a 4, so she is boomed. So really what this is going to come down to, oh, and the artillery to make him lose a force and allow Patrick to track that. Won't fully track it because he's not going to activate to it. But again, pings, like, you're trying to do damage right now. You're up a couple cards on Chris. There's a 5 for Battle Destiny. So that's going to be Kurgi, and a 6. So you're probably going to end up with just a total of 12. Blizzard 8 is 7. Kurgi is 6. So yeah, you're going to end up with just Blizzard 2 there. And then we see the 4 from Patrick, which is, yeah, just going to, because they're not forfeit 0, it's just going to cost him Hera. It does mean Chris is only drawing 1 Battle Destiny there now, but that's not the spot that Patrick really wants to be in. So we see Blizzard 8 go away, along with Captain Kurgi. I mean, Chris does only have 2 cards in hand. If Patrick's got some answers, this could get interesting quick, but that was a solid start, and Chris draws his last card. He can always put one back with, like, my father if he wants to. I'm not sure he needs to. So, and there we see Chris just says, yep, I'll sit with no force. I'm not worried about it. Patrick has 1 card in hand. Chris has 3. I mean, Patrick does have the ability to go get he'll be able to get a Hoth icon card from his force. Total life force, Chris has 23 down. Patrick has 26. So Patrick is ahead by a card or two. We did just see Chris play Hear Me Baby to go get Simple Tricks. Simple Tricks isn't by itself going to do anything because right now Patrick has 2 battlegrounds, but he won't soon enough. And we see he grabbed Image of the Dark Lord with Echo Base destroyed. I think you retrieve one with your objective. And I think that's going to be Garrison, which will just straight cancel a drain, but which is really good for Patrick. Like, I wouldn't hate a... Yep, I would not hate here to see Patrick just move Blizzard 2 to the 5th marker and draw a few to plan for next turn. Like, that's... He'll lose his retrieval, because the retrieval's control phase, isn't it? Yeah. So he'd lose next turn's retrieval if he moves away, but I think that's still the right play. And we do see him pay 3 to drain for 2, and he's just trying to grind Chris out of cards. Like, Chris is down to 19 down and 2 in hand. That's all you're trying to do here. And Patrick goes and gets another trample. So he had another trample. And now he's putting a card on the bottom to exchange. Yep, he's putting that trample down to exchange because he wasn't positive he was going to trample Han. And paying 2 to hope for it is probably not an ideal scenario, especially because you're not going to do anything this turn after you trample Han. Like, you're not paying 2 to trample Han, putting a guy down and battling Luke. That's a bad idea. So I think you're just moving Blizzard 2 away. Pick some up so you have a response for next round and see what you can get. Because Chris is... I mean, at some point, Chris is going to start paying to drain. I'm just not sure when. Like, it might be this turn. Like, we may see a drain with Ray at the very least. We see, I don't need their scum either to go get Hujix, Unita, or Scanner Tex. I think Unita is already lost. So it might be Scanner Tex or the Hujix. And Patrick says, you know what? I don't need to give you that 5. I'm going to grab that. Okay. I'm not sure it matters. Let's phrase it that way. I don't love that grab necessarily, but I don't know that Chris was going to play something else you're really worried about, except maybe the Jedi's Focus. Like, that would have been the card I would have really wanted to grab. And Chris really hasn't played as much of that as I expected. He's not found them. And I think that's honestly good for Patrick. But now Patrick's just, draw a pile of cards and have something to go for next turn. You know, it's because Chris is, if nothing else, Chris has got to pay to drain at the marker just to burn that Walker Garrison. Like, it's not ideal, but it is what it is. And there we see Cold Feet to grab There Is No Try. So we saw an Altar lost, which would actually be immune to the There Is No Try damage. We haven't seen a sense, but certainly possible. Gogolen has one in there. I mean, the downside of sense in Luke Saga is you want to run multiple Luke Jedi Knights, and that makes Luke fail his sense draws. So, not always ideal, but, you know, any deck that has a bunch of Jedi and wants high ability characters down early, a sense or 2 is not, you know, not nonsense. It's a fairly sensible play. So, and yep, Chris is he pays 3 to drain for 2 at Cloud City, and we see Decree and a Dark Time for Rebellion off the top. The Decree is not a great loss. Like, I think Patrick would have liked to have that because getting rid of Luke is going to be a little bit of a problem, and, you know, if you can't get rid of Luke and you're not sitting in front of him, that extra +1 to drain is obnoxious. So I think Chris right now is deciding if he wants to just pay 3 to burn the garrison out or do something else with it, because neither answer is great. And if he moves to the 5th marker, Coward comes back into play, and then he's not draining. So it's kind of a what do I do here choice, and none of those choices are really what I would call ideal. So let's see which way he goes with this, because again, he's only got 3 cards in hand. Yeah, he's raid and he's 3POing and he's cycling through his deck and trying to find cards, but like there's a point where you still just you have to have cards. And 3 of them. There's the solid one though. That's Obi-Wan Kenobi to the North Ridge. That gives him a little more staying power, and he's going to exchange 2 cards in hand. So he's exchanging those last 2 cards in hand to grab a card from his lost pile. Curious what he's grabbing here. So he drops Hujix and Lando for Corran Horn. I mean, Corran alone there, okay, I guess. Like, he doesn't have the Run Luke Run, but I'm thinking he knows his destiny and knows he's going to hit, or he's going to blow up Blizzard 2, which is what he wants to do here. So there's the shot. That will hit Corran, but that's going to be of little help. Well, there's another artillery to make him lose another force. Like, that's a solid play. There goes Jedi's Focus from used. But if he's got a 4 here, that's not good for Patrick. And I'm not seeing Patrick do anything else. Yeah, it looks like it is on Patrick's count. And there's the Battle Destiny is the 6. So the site wipes. That is not what Patrick wanted. And that was a very, very good play by Chris. That was a... That's why these guys are in this match, because that's the kind of play I'm not sure I would have thought of doing when I was there. And I got to give up my Hujix and my Lando. I don't know about that. But like, that ends up being absolutely the right play. Like, that was a very good play, and it worked out very well. So Chris is, however, now down to 15 cards in force pile, 1 in hand, compared to Patrick's 18 down and 8 in hand, which is a little bit better. I mean, Patrick's got more cards in hand, but he's losing the damage race right now, and Blizzard 1 is going to be in a tough spot if Chris decides to go after it. So we see the Quite a Mercenary off the top to the You May Start Your Landing damage. And we'll see the pay 3 to drain for 2. And there went Luke Jedi Knight, and my sister has it off the top. Now, Patrick does still have the Walker Garrison, so he's got a turn where he can just cancel that drain for Luke, Han, and Obi. So he's not out of it yet. Like, that's the thing, is Chris has a lot of cards in play, but he's just doesn't have a lot of cards down. And there we see Min Kyog in front of Rey. Min's going to grab another shield when played. I don't think there's any shields that matter at all at this point, but sure, why not? Let's throw another shield down. And I think Patrick just says, look, my total attrition's +1 for each leader there, so Min's going to be high enough to, all I got to do is draw like a 2, and I take Rey out, and he's just piling a few dudes there, so whenever Rey draws, you're like, all right, one of these guys, our net forfeits for 5, 61-5 forfeits for 7. Like, okay, fine, I'll lose a dude. Like, who are you? You're not scared of anything Chris is coming back at you with, again, with 1 card in hand. There's just not a lot Chris can do to that, and Patrick, held out on that right. There's a 3 for Battle Destiny, which is enough to kill Rey, especially given that it'll be +1 to the attrition from the objective. And there's a 3, so I'm pretty sure that'll be Lieutenant Arnett going away. Patrick subtracts 1 from it to make it a 2. I'm not sure I care about that subtraction. Like, you're not overflowing either way. Nobody, everybody's dying either way. Arnett was forfeiting for 5, so even if it's a 4 with Ray, it doesn't matter. So, but that's fine. It's Patrick cleared that site, so now his interrupts are all 1 higher destiny, or back to printed destiny, which is very important. And it gives him another drain site for the moment. And it forces Chris to have a response. And again, Chris has only got 12 cards down and only 1 in hand. There's only so many ways you can respond to that, especially with this objective. And Chris activates all of it, so he doesn't have a response right now. He's not draining. I mean, I think at some point you have to drain. Like, just force the garrison out. Like, fine, I'll drain. Okay, it gets canceled by garrison. There are times you just have to go, yep, you're going to cancel it. I need to do this so I can do it next turn. And there's Scoundrel Lando. That's a choice. Like, without a recirculate. All right. Well, let's see what... it will block the drain. It probably puts Patrick in a position where he's not... he's got to, I think, battle into Lando and just, okay, I'm going to lose a guy, and Lando will potentially retrieve and add. And, like, you don't love any of that, but it is still a strong position. Gogolen says, if I put Lando down, I block the drain of 2. If he battles me, I retrieve 1, and then I lose Lando, so I blocked the drain of 2 for free, effectively. It nets out a 0 cost because you put a card down and you retrieved a card. And you open up the chance of Patrick leaves a guy sitting there alone, and it's much worse. So Patrick activates his 12, goes and grabs Dark Time for the Rebellion from Force Pile using Echo Base Destroyed. Gonna get a ping for 1 off. And there goes their tracking us from Gogolen's used pile. I think you're going to see a pay 3 to drain for 2. Yeah, there's absolutely no reason not to. And there went Rebel Leadership and Draw Their Fire off the top. Gogolen's, and there's an artillery to ping. Gogolen's down to 7 cards down. Like, I think Patrick, absent some sort of huge mistake, I think Patrick's in a real good spot here. And he's retrieving the bottom card of his lost pile, which gets him back a Force Push, which is just a card at this point. Like, he's already used it. It is what it is. And there's Image of the Dark Lord going on that 4th marker site just to reduce the drain a little bit. And that's fine. You're not going to spread to get resistance in play. And there's Lieutenant Watts, also known as Forfeit Fodder, up at the lower corridor. That, again, puts now, you've got DS615 who forfeits for 7, who will cover whatever is drawn for Battle Destiny. And Patrick says, you know what? I don't need to battle you. You can sit there. We can both just sit there. There's no need for me to give you a force back. And Chris says, fine, I'll walk lane a force back instead. So it does get him back with Luke's lightsaber, which is a bad destiny and not necessarily what he wanted back, but I think it was the right play. And Patrick with the imbalance combo, Gogolen says, fine, I didn't want that Luke's lightsaber anyways. I'll throw it back in my lost pile. I see how you are. I'm not sure Chris has got an out here. Like, some of this comes down to Chris had some real bad destinies early that would have absolutely changed the heck out of this game. If he had killed Blizzard 2 on that early battle with Leia and Padme, the entire texture of this game changes drastically because it's much harder for Patrick to get a foothold going on Hoth and hold that on Hoth. And there we see Chris says, fine, I'll put Princess Leia down. I mean, on the one hand, I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't necessarily hate just walking everybody in front of Blizzard 1. Yep. I don't like it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you that I think it's an ideal play. I think it falls into it's a play you have to make, and you just feel bad doing it. And he might leave Han there just to threaten a drain of 1. It gives him a second battleground, so he survives coward if needed. It also would allow him to retrieve 1 with Lando if Patrick initiated a battle, though I don't see Patrick initiating that battle. So, and Chris says, nope, I got to do this the smart way. He walks them all over. Recirculate, pay 1 with Lando. Like right now, he's only losing 1 force. Like he loses 1 to you may start your landing. There's no drains. Now it's just a where do you go with this? So I see the Echo Base destroyed to go get a Hoth card into hand. Who is winning right now? Patrick is winning, Dan, by I think he's doing well. Are you not even paying attention? I've been talking about the game the whole time. Daniel, this is pay attention. Patrick grabs Trample out of his force pile with Echo Base destroyed. That's just a card. That's not the card he wanted. There's nobody he's planning to. I mean, I guess actually, if he's got the 7 stacked, oh, good. Congrats, Dan. Hope it went well. If he tracked that 7, that Trample could be really. Oh, he did not. So he went and searched his reserve deck. So he didn't track to the 7 that is in there, because that would have just been dirty pool right there. Chris says, yeah, that looks about right. So there's at least 1 7 in there, and they're all good destiny. So there's the pays 2 to stack the Trample. We're going to try and trample Luke. Squish! And Chris says, fine, you win. Spectacularly played by both players. I don't think Chris made any mistakes. Chris had terrible luck in a couple different battles where he failed to clear a walker that, had he cleared it, the whole texture of this game changes a whole lot. But super well played by Patrick. There's no question. He played this walker's deck beautifully, and on, very limited resources. That he was definitely short on force quite a bit. But yeah, seeing Luke get stomped makes my heart, I mean, it's a cold black heart, but like it makes it grow a little bit in size, because I do love seeing Trample stomp Jedi. It is currently now 5-2 according to our chat denizen, and the U.S. is still in control of this, but it's not over, and Europe is starting to mount a comeback. So we have more games coming up later this week, and I believe later today you'll see Scott Lingrell is going to stream his Jawa game. So keep your eyes on your email for the notification that we're going live with Twitch, and watch some awesome Jawa action. But thank you guys very much for coming out and watching, hanging out with me. Congratulations to Patrick for a very solid win, and congratulations to Chris Gogolen. You played a heck of a game. No shame in anything that went on. So until next time, may the force be with y'all.